We will introduce that voice in a moment. Good morning to you. As I was saying, Westside Decorating, 5789 State Street in Saginaw. For all of your home decorating needs, stop and visit Mike and the staff at Westside Decorating Center. We are on the road today. We are in the Visitor Center at the Bay City State Park, one of the jewels of this region. And it is with pleasure that we do that. Our broadcast sponsored today by Growers Choice Insurance and Ernie Krieger Service.
There you go. Good morning.
Which is why that voice is with me this morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Ernie Krieger is with us this morning here at the Bay City State Park. We should also tell you he is the chairman of the board of the Friends.
Yes.
The president of the board of the Friends of the Bay City State Park.
I get to direct. Everybody else does all the work.
That's what I assumed.
We are blessed with a group of board of directors at this park that's second to none.
Yep. And I was privileged to be a part of that for a couple of years.
Yes, you were.
This is really a fabulous institution here, and we've done the visitor centers. First time I've been in since it was rehabbed, you know. And
we haven't had
it's not even done yet.
Nope. There's still a work in progress.
Yeah. But this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, is the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. I lost track. I don't know how many years this has been going on now. Do you? Do you have any idea?
I think you had dark hair. Maybe when Jonathan comes on, he'll be able to give you a better handle on how many years we've been doing this.
I don't know. I really don't know how long it's been, but it's been quite a long time.
I would probably say in excess of 20 years.
I would think so. Think so. And sponsored by S.C. Johnson and the Department of Natural Resources and the Friends of the Bay City State Park. And we'll be telling you what's here for you this weekend, for you and the family, because it really is kids-oriented, too, in many ways.
Yep.
And we will tell you all about that. Meantime, Mr. Krieger is with us this morning. If you're having appliance problems, yes, it's the second week in a row we've had him on because we didn't get all the questions answered the last time. We rarely do. And our number's 989-752-6111. If you have a major appliance giving you a problem, give them a call. It'll either point you in the right direction to get it fixed, or you will find it in the bottom of Saginaw Bay. We can't do that.
Depends on the size of your boat.
Yeah. They got a boat anchor, and we've certainly done that over the years, haven't we?
Especially with our dehumidifiers. They've been
they're just not made to be fixed, are they?
No.
And it's simply because of the cost. You can buy one cheaper and you can fix it.
Well, and part of it is getting parts. I mean, these things are all coming over on a boat, and there's no backup parts for them.
Are they made by a lot of different companies, or is there one company slapping multiple brands on?
You got one or two major players out of, let's say, China and Korea.
Yeah.
And then everybody else puts their name on it. And some of them might have a 1-year parts and labor. Some might have a 5-year parts and labor. What I usually will tell a person is, somebody's offering you an extended warranty, and it's a third of what you're going to pay for that dehumidifier, and it gives you a 5-year, I would tell you to jump at it, because lifespans right now have only been running 3 to 4 years, and you end up with sealed system issues.
Boy, am I fortunate. Mine has been running about 10 now. So.
Yeah, well, it's of the older, vintage.
And I'm curious about something, and I hate to bring this up this way, but I'm going to do it anyway. We hear about overseas manufacturing, China particularly. Korea does a lot of things. And, we'd all love to see everything made here in the USA, but right now it's not happening.
Correct.
If I took a Chinese dehumidifier and sat it next to a Korean dehumidifier, would I see a difference, and would one last longer than the other?
In my opinion, no.
No, really?
No, they're still in the same boat.
I always thought Korea did a pretty good job of assembly and building.
Well, it's materials that we run into an issue. We're using sheet metal. You've got copper. You've got steel. So when you have dissimilar metals that are used on these units, electrolysis takes place and you end up with leaks in a sealed system. And once you've got a leak, you just don't put gas in it like you did 30, 40 years ago.
You can't take a soldering iron and seal it
No.
up, or
No.
take any of that stuff you see on television that's supposed to
yeah.
seal up leaks.
No. No. You can make up an epoxy and put epoxy around it. And what happens is it doesn't expand and contract like the original metals. So those patches are going to peel off like a Band-Aid. And then the other issue is being able to get the refrigerant and having the gauges to be able to put the refrigerant back in and
So
evacuate.
there's a good question, because refrigerants have changed over the years.
Yep.
If I were to go out and buy a brand new dehumidifier today, would I get the butane type? Are they using that, or are they still using the old refrigerants?
Old refrigerants, probably 410A or what's called an M39, a different refrigerant that's out there.
So they haven't switched those over yet, huh?
No,
Oh,
no, not yet.
not
Not
yet.
yet, but I think it's coming.
And you know, I often wondered about this. These butane systems, I mean, if I have a little butane lighter, I can take a little can and stick it up there and fill it up and use it up and fill it up again. There's no taps on these where you can just fill them up if the...
No, there's not. They're hermetically sealed. And, you know, they've been around for a bit. And as far as technicians that are out there now, I think most of the techs that are doing sealed systems would probably work or would like to work on a butane system than they would the 134A.
Just easier to deal with. And cheaper.
I don't know that it's cheaper. The process is a little different. But we find that the systems that have gone down, that have had leaks, last a little better.
And are fixable.
Well, anything's fixable. It's whether or not
We wanna
it's
pay
affordable.
yeah.
If it's under warranty, the manufacturer's covering it. But if it's only a 1-year parts and labor, maybe you won't be so lucky.
And if you have something that goes out 1 year and a day,
Good luck.
manufacturers won't, you can't call them up and say, hey, you know.
You'd really have to be screaming and shouting. And then I would say after a couple hours of being on the phone and not getting to the right person, and then a couple more hours being on the phone and finally getting to somebody, you might get somewhat of a sympathetic ear, but you really have to stay on top of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, today's manufacturers have really let the buyer down when it comes to warranty.
And now this is another question, because a lot of product is still made in the United States, particularly laundry,
Yes.
things of that nature.
Yes.
If I took those products and put them side by the imported stuff, are they better?
Yeah, there's a couple manufacturers that have really cleaned up their front load washers, let's say, that I would buy over, let's say, something coming from Korea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, it is.
At least we haven't forgotten how to make things. All we got to do is get it back and do it again.
Yes.
All right. We are here at the Visitor Center of the Bay City State Park, where tomorrow the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival takes place. Our broadcast sponsored by Ernie Krieger Service, and also sponsored by the good folks at Growers Choice Insurance. And we thank them for that. The Waterfowl Outdoor Festival sponsored by S.C. Johnson, a family company, and working for a better world, and the Department of Natural Resources, and the Friends of Bay City State Park. And Ernie, while I have that mentioned, tell us about the Friends organization and what it does.
Well, we're kind of where the buck stops. You know, there's different projects that the DNR will fund, and then there are some projects that they would like to fund but can't come up with the money. And so our track record out here, obviously we have a spray park that came in with the help of the DNR, but you know, the Friends group went out and got a lot of money from different organizations to help put that through. We just finished up our new playscape. Again, the DNR contributed, but it was their friends that kind of pulled that over the line. And, we have all these trails that go back out into Tobico, Anderson trails. And so we work with different community organizations to come up with funding to repave these trails that are out here. We're fortunate. We have a young lady by the name of Kathy Washabaugh, who has been with the park system friends group for probably
Decades.
day one. I mean,
Yeah.
she is the driving force in going out and finding money and doing different grants. And then we have some new ladies that are coming up, Judy Thomas, Cindy Ferrio, Kathy Dewan. These are all new ladies that are coming on the board that are taking us into new directions with new fresh blood.
I noticed, too, coming in a new drop-off area for handicap and the like. Now, is that a DNR project?
Yes. It had been in the works for quite a while. One of the complaints that we had here was accessibility to the swimming beach. So over a period of years, and finally getting the personnel lined up to be able to come in and do it, we have this drop-off zone and handicap accessibility where you can come in and unload all your
Handicap
coolers.
can park out there, too,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes. And if we have seniors that just want to get closer to the bay to see the water, that they can come in here and do that. Then after they drop off whatever they need, they can come back out and are
Park.
freshly paved.
Yeah, I noticed
roads.
that, too. Yeah. So there's been work here.
This place is a work in progress. Our campground is getting a new face. There's upgrades that have been going on over there. We were closed for a while. I'm not sure if we're fully open. And as most people find, our campground is very popular.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get into.
Well, the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival has been going on for a long time, and it is tomorrow and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. There are calling competitions, outdoor and hunting vendor expo, free waterfowl hunting workshops, and free hunt trials. There's the regional and state duck Stuttgart calling competitions, the MDHA Michigan State Duck Stamp Contest, which has been an annual event, youth and adult calling seminars, Duck Discovery Kids Zone, a duck ID trail, and a wood duck box clinic. It's all here at the Bay City State Park at 3582 State Park Drive in Bay City. Stop on out tomorrow, Sunday, and you will also see people bringing their dogs.
Yes.
Dogs are welcome.
Yes.
As long as you have them on a leash, have them controlled.
Exactly.
And I mean, there used to be some dog competitions. I don't know if there are any this year or not.
Yeah, I think there is.
Good. If you can pick up one of the little newspapers about the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival, and it'll tell you all of the activities going on and all of the vendors that will be here. We'll take a break, come back. Ernie Krieger with us. If you have any questions about appliance repair, you can give us a call, 989-752-6111. Or if you want to know about State Park, you can answer that too.
Yep.
Ready to save big?
Tomorrow and Sunday's Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. Ernie Krieger with me. Our broadcast sponsored by Ernie Krieger Service and by Growers Choice Insurance. So, Ernie, and again, folks, if you have a major appliance that you have a question about, you can give us a call, 989-752-6111. Chat with Mr. Krieger and
Yes.
see if we can get you on the right path to recovery, so to speak.
So air conditioning.
Yeah, it was going to be how'd you know that? That's my next question. Go ahead.
So we've had some very hot days.
Certainly have.
And the air conditioners have definitely been running. And if you have a central air, I want you to take a walk over and take a look and see what those coils look like. And if it looks like somebody's got a white mesh around the coil itself, I would recommend getting a garden hose and going over and washing off that cottonwood, which is what it is, from the top all the way down to the bottom.
Funny you mention that, because on my list of things to do today is to go outside. I have a brush, a long brush. I can get up on my wooden porch deck, reach over to that air conditioner, because as you know, I've screened it.
Yes.
But every now and then I got to go out there and clean the screening. Otherwise, the air doesn't get through.
Correct.
And I've noticed lately it's running longer than normal.
Okay.
My house is cool. It cools down, but it runs and runs and runs.
And if it's running longer, it's costing you more money.
That's true.
So if you keep those condensing coils clean, they're going to run a whole lot more efficient.
Yep.
And you're not going to put a lot of stress on that compressor.
So it's on my list today to go out and clean the screening.
Is that before or after your noon nap?
I'll have to decide when I get home.
Okay. Okay. And along with air conditioners, we have refrigerators that work just as hard, and a lot of these have fan-cooled condensers.
Can you get to them anymore, though? I mean, it used to be you could pull off the kick plate
In the bottom, yeah.
and you go in there with a bottle brush or something and clean them out and, vacuum it and all that stuff. Not all of them have that anymore, do they?
No, now they have a set of coils that are behind the refrigerator down at the bottom that you have to take an access panel off. And then you can get in there with a brush and a crevice
And you could
tool.
do it that way.
Yes.
So you have to pull it out from the wall and you got to do all that stuff.
Yes. Cute story. A friend of mine lives up in Traverse City, 20-plus-year-old refrigerator. Calls me up and says, you know what? My refrigerator's got this strip that goes from top to the bottom where the two doors seal, and it's hotter than hell. And it's like, well, Rick, when was the last time you pulled it away and cleaned the coils? Well, I've never done that. I said, Rick. So I talked him into doing this. Usually Rick only can do things if duct tape fixes it. But I conned him into pulling it away from the wall, took the bottom panel off, and hocus pocus, this thing was loaded with dirt. Cleaned the coils on it.
I should probably do that too.
By the next day, ooh, it's warm, it's not hot. Ooh, it's not running all the time like it used to. Ooh, my ice cream's nice and firm where it was starting to get a little soft. Refrigeration's all about transferring heat from one place to another.
Let me ask you this. In my basement, I have a Gibson freezer. It's stand-up. Stand-alone, big freezer. And I don't open it that much. But when I do, every now and then, I notice there's beginning to get a frost buildup. How often should you empty and defrost a freezer like that is not self-defrosting, and why?
Well, the more frost you have build up on your refrigeration tubing, it acts as an insulator, and it makes it that much harder to get your temperatures down to 0 degrees.
You would think with the frost, it tells you it's already down to 0, but no,
No.
it's not.
No, the frost buildup might tell you that your freezer is only running 10 above when we want 0 degrees.
Okay.
And so with a freezer, how this thing works is you want to make those ice crystals as small as possible when you freeze things. So if you put product in the freezer and it's at 0, ice crystals are going to be pretty tiny. You put your stuff in a freezer that's only running 10 degrees, the ice crystals are going to be larger. So when you come to defrost that product, you're going to have a lot more moisture sitting on the countertop, which has all the flavors in it. So the quicker you can freeze it, the life of that product is going to be that much
this
better.
freezer has a flash frost area where you're supposed to put things to flash freeze them quickly.
Yeah, because what happens when you open up an upright freezer, let's say there's 5 shelves.
Yeah, all the cold.
Well, on those 5 shelves, 2 of them are probably dummy shelves. That means there's no refrigeration tubing going
Right.
through it. So whatever you put on that shelf is going to take a little longer to freeze versus if you put your product on a shelf that has refrigeration tubing.
Yeah.
In the old days on Amanos, their shelves were always solid metal. So whatever you put in there on that product, on that solid metal shelf, it would freeze quickly. Versus
Even though there was no tubing on that shelf.
Oh no, they had tubing on the
tubing
bottom
besides.
side. Oh
Okay.
yeah, that was one thing that made them unique back in the day. But back to your unit, how often do you defrost it? It depends on that frost buildup. How often you go into that unit, and normally you'll see the frost buildup up at the top versus down at the bottom. And then your best way of
I've
doing
noticed
it,
that on the outside of some product. The product is sealed, and I have a vacuum sealer, so most of the stuff in there is sealed, or it's in the manufacturer's seal. But I notice every now and then on the outside there's a frost buildup on it,
Yep.
where everything else is fine.
So it might be time for you to defrost that freezer.
Oh, yeah?
Put that
Okay.
on your bucket list.
Okay. With that, we're going to take a break.
Good.
Tell you that we are here at the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival starting tomorrow here at the Bay City State Park. Our broadcast brought to you by Ernie Krieger Service and by Growers Choice Insurance. We will be back. If you have any questions about major appliances, give us a call, 989-752-6111. City State Park and the Visitors Center with Ernie Krieger from Ernie Krieger Service. If you have any questions about appliances, by all means, give us a call. We had a listener, and I'm going to have to reach over here and read this because the print is so small on the computer. We had a listener has an older fridge, running fine, but the seals are cracked and worn and sagging. Can they be replaced? And the refrigerator is 20 to 25 years old. Doesn't say what kind.
Yeah, when you get into that age, if a gasket's available, the problem you're going to have, that gasket's been sitting in a box for 20 years.
Even the new
Yeah.
replacement parts.
And chances are that new gasket will probably be worse than what you already have on that refrigerator. What I would tell you to do, you might be able to take a hairdryer and try to rejuvenate some of what you've got on that old door gasket. Usually you can warm that gasket up, and using your fingers you can take and soften up some of the rubber that's between the magnet and the piece that's bolted on the door. But to have a new door gasket put on, if it's available, usually could go anywhere from $150 to $200 just for the gasket. But when you go to reinstall it on a door, because the door may have the type of gasket that has multiple screws that goes all the way around, that holds the gasket on, it also goes through the door liner. The door liner is now going to have an issue because that plastic is 20 to 25 years old, and that plastic could crack on you.
All right, so let me ask you this. A 20 to 25-year-old refrigerator, he's got a gasket with cracks. That would tell me he's probably got a little bit of an air leak someplace,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And it's going to cost, let's say $200 to replace that gasket if he could find one. If he were to go out today and buy an equivalent refrigerator, by that I mean, let's say he's got a 21 cubic foot refrigerator and he goes out and buys another 21 cubic foot refrigerator comparable to what he had, will his cost to operate that make up for the difference in capitalization to buy it?
Yep. The only problem is what he buys today, if he can get 7 to 10 years out of it, he's going to be doing good. The day of a 20, 25-year-old refrigerator going that long is gotten very small.
And what's the problem?
Just technology, quality of the product that they're putting in there in the refrigeration.
And it's going to have a computer
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah. Or it'll have a variable speed compressor. And again, it
But
depends.
now that's a good thing, though, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, why run a compressor at 100% if only needs to run at 20 to 30%?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moved his microphone up. So anyway, the refrigerant is different. Sealed system, obviously, different. But the basics are the same, right?
Yeah.
Takes cold air.
You got to be able to take the heat that's inside and transfer it to the outside.
Let me ask you this, too, because in a lot of refrigerators, you had your freezer, and then there was a damper that controlled the flow of the air into the refrigerator.
Yes.
Do new units today have separate refrigeration and freezer systems?
Well, depends on what you get. I mean, we've all been programmed. We have to have these French door refrigerators.
Yeah, well,
You know? And in coming with that, you might have just one evaporator that's located in the freezer that's down at the bottom, and then you have a fan that circulates the air from the bottom up into the top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And there's an air damper that opens and closes depending on how much temperature you need. We also have the French door with the freezer on the bottom, and you'll have an evaporator in the freezer section and a separate evaporator in the refrigerator section.
Does that mean it's a separate compressor?
Nope, same compressor.
Same compressor.
Yep.
One way or another, it's the same compressor.
Correct. And then, there was a time where we had refrigerators side by side, let's say, that had actually two compressors, two evaporators, two condensers, all in one cabinet. And then we have...
Well, now let me ask you about that. That if I bought one of the major manufacturers, let's say I buy a bottom freezer, big single door top,
Mm-hmm.
so a bottom freezer refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I spent $1,500, $2,000 for that. All right, just I'm
That's
going to pick
about right.
numbers. I'm going to pick numbers out of the air, and it's got one system.
Yes.
If I went out and bought one of the super expensive high-end ones, the $10,000 plus,
Okay.
same type, what am I getting for that $10,000 that I'm not getting in that $2,000?
Oh, adjustable shelves, LED lighting, ice and water in the door.
Well, you haven't told me about the condenser. You haven't told me about the compressor. You haven't told me about the evaporators.
You have a lot more electronics, and you might have a situation where
You haven't told me about the compressor. You haven't told me about the evaporator.
the compressor will be a real hybrid in technology, one that does have a variable speed pump.
And
One
that unit's going to last more than 7-10 years, I would assume.
you would
It
hope
better.
so. Well, you might have a 10-year warranty on the sealed system. The dirty little secret is it doesn't cover the labor, and that can be costly. And these refrigerators that have multiple doors, where you have two doors on the bottom that open for a freezer, and then you have a drawer that pulls out,
Or
and then
two.
you have the double doors.
Yeah.
Those will have multiple evaporator coils, and then what they have is we'll call it a distributor. So depending on which one needs the refrigerant, this valve goes and puts it into different positions on where the refrigerant goes to. One compressor, multiple distributors that go to different evaporators.
Wouldn't it be
Very
simpler to
technical.
put it in two systems?
Well, there was a unit that did have two systems.
All right, I'll tell you what. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we will talk to Joe in Saginaw. When we return, right after these notes, let me tell you about Quick Lane Freeland, right next to my car dealer, McDonald Ford. And Quick Lane Freeland is where you can go for all of your routine service for your automobile. And it doesn't matter what make or model. They work on all of them, keeping your car or truck in tip-top shape. They also want to keep you in tip-top shape and keep you healthy. They have a product that's inserted into your air conditioning system called FrigiFresh. FrigiFresh is a hospital-grade disinfectant. It kills germs, odor, pollen, mildew, and keeps you healthy inside your car. Best of all, it's only $20, takes 10 minutes. You don't need an appointment. You can just stop in to Quick Lane Freeland and ask to have FrigiFresh placed in your air conditioning system, and you will be a healthy driver from that point forward. Stop in to Quick Lane Freeland, right next to McDonald Ford in Freeland, where they work on all makes and models of cars and trucks.
Are you suffering from pain or
All right, back with you at the Bay City State Park, where tomorrow and Sunday, the big Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. We'll tell you more about that in just a couple of minutes. Talking to Ernie Krieger from Ernie Krieger Service, and Joe is in Saginaw. Joe, good morning. Welcome to the program. You're on with Ernie.
Hey, good morning. Ernie,
Hi,
here's a
Joe.
quick question for you.
Sure.
So we moved into a new house, and I bought all new appliances, and I really appreciated you guys. I bought American built, which made me really happy. Didn't want to buy it from the box stores because of service in this, but the only issue I've had, any common part, pressure switch in my washer, igniter in my oven, belt for my dryer, you guys never have the parts. Are there some appliances that are easier to get parts for? I mean, these parts are common. They're used across many models, and
you are about to hear the saga of the parts.
It has been a real challenge, and we no longer sell parts over the counter. We have a distributor that we work with called Marcone that has the ability to, in most cases, drop ship a part to a customer within a day. That being said, you do have some retailers that are here in the Bay City and Saginaw area that do carry a certain amount of inventory. And I would think igniters shouldn't have been a problem. A belt shouldn't have been a problem. A pressure switch I could see where, if they don't have it in stock and they have to order it from one of their parts distributors, it could take 7 days, a week to 7 days to get that part in.
Has part of the problem been online?
Yeah,
like his pressure switch. Could he find that online?
Yes, but the chances are when you get that pressure switch, it may or may not be the right one.
Oh.
That's the issue that you have when you're doing it online. And yeah, they tell you, if you're not satisfied, you can return it, but sometimes good luck in trying to get that back through and getting your credit. But that being said, if let's say it turns out that you need a pressure switch for a Whirlpool washer, you have the Art Noes, you have the Millars.
Yeah.
So whether you're in Bay City or Saginaw, you've got somebody that's close by that if they had it in stock, you'd be able to get it. If they didn't have it in stock,
they should be able to get it.
Yeah, then you're going to be looking for a parts distributor.
And just to point out, doesn't really matter whether he bought an American-made product or a foreign-made product. He's going to have the same issue, isn't he?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Joe, hope that answers the question. Not
yeah,
to your satisfaction,
thank you.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye. And let's talk to Mike in Thomas Township. Mike, you're on with Ernie Krieger. Good morning.
Good morning, Ernie. Good morning.
Got about a minute just to warn you.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I've got a Frigidaire heavy-duty over and under washer-dryer that I've got to replace. It's just gone to heck. And I'm looking at a GE. Looks like it's the same size and all the same type of controls and everything. Do you think it's comparable? The old Frigidaire has a 110 plug in the wall.
Yep.
And it looks like there's a gas, hookup on the bottom of it.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that the GE is comparable.
You shouldn't have an issue. The features should be pretty close to the same, and like you're finding, the dimensions are going to be the same. And if you got a gas dryer instead of electric, your 110 hookup will be identical. So you should be good.
All right.
Okay. Well, that's
there you go, Mike.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
You
Yeah,
too.
thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that'll do it for this hour with Ernie Krieger. We're going to start the next hour talking to Jonathan from the state park about the Waterfowl Festival, and then we'll drag Ernie back after that. Our program today has been sponsored by Ernie Krieger Service and by Growers Choice Insurance, sponsoring our broadcast from the state park. And, of course, our program, The Art Lewis Show, sponsored by Westside Decorating Center in Saginaw. We'll take a break, and then we will return to tell you a little more about the Waterfowl Festival before the news at the top of the hour. We are here at the Bay City State Park, where tomorrow and Sunday the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival takes place, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. And you just need to have the state park permit on your license plate. And if you got one of those, it's free to get in. And the program sponsored by S.C. Johnson, a family company at work for a better world. Also, Soaring Eagles Landing and Casino, Ducks Unlimited, GK World Championship Calls, Northwoods Wholesale Outlet, and many of the sponsors that help put this on, the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. There will be many, many vendors here tomorrow. with lots of outdoor equipment to show you, particularly if you are a waterfowl hunter and you're looking for example, calls. There will be a number of call manufacturers here, vendors who will be all set up. It happens right here at the Bay City State Park tomorrow and Sunday, the 2024 Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. More on that next hour, right after the news here on WSGW.
Broadcasting from the...
Who was released herself in a prisoner swap in late 2022 after 10 months in captivity in Russia. She put out a statement saying she is overwhelmed with joy and relief for the Americans released and that every American returned is a win.
Air quality alerts are posted in the West as a nationwide heat wave returns. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams at the Weather Channel.
High pressure in the west will keep the wildfire smoke in place, irritating eyes and lungs, and will also keep the temps not only above average, but we could crush records that have been standing for nearly 60 years.
Lots of people are having doubts about the Secret Service after the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. CBS's Cammie McCormick.
Only 3 in 10 Americans are very confident that the Secret Service can keep presidential candidates safe before the election. This poll from the Associated Press and Newark Center for Public Affairs Research also found 7 in 10 Americans think the Secret Service bears some responsibility for the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Most also say political division in this country had a great deal to do with it.
There will be a hearing in Delaware today on Elon Musk's whopping compensation package. CBS News legal analyst Thane Rosenbaum.
The judge is being asked to reconsider his ruling invalidating the $56 billion pay package Musk received from Tesla shareholders. After the court issued the ruling, the shareholders met again and once more approved $56 billion in compensation.
Musk isn't the only one making the move. The Wall Street Journal reporting after more than 140 years, Chevron is relocating from its home state of California to Texas. Dow down 498 points. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Get renter's insurance to protect the things that make your place a home, including coverage for theft or damage. Visit Progressive.com.
What would you want to see make a big comeback?
Live from the 100.5 and 790 newsroom. This is WSGW News.
Cloudy skies and 77 degrees at 10:05. Good morning, I'm Mike Percha. Following on the heels of an objection to the sale of the State Theater in Bay City, the building looks as though it might have a different owner than originally reported. James White of Boyne City was initially listed as the purchaser of the theater for $630,000 after a bankruptcy court-appointed trustee accepted his bid over 2 other interested parties, Gregory Kukulski and Jordan Dice, owner of the Midland Mall and St. Laurent Brothers Candy Store in Bay City. Both Kukulski and Dice filed an objection to the bidding process in federal court, claiming they would have placed higher bids given that opportunity. Judge Daniel Opperman gave them the opportunity by declaring an auction, with Dice coming out on top with a bid of $960,000. Dice says he plans on restoring the theater and bringing it back to operation as soon as possible. My Michigan Health has completed the purchase of Ascension Michigan's facilities in the region. Here's Christiana Malacaro with the story.
Saginaw, Tawas, and Standish are the 3 new acquired locations. Ascension St. Mary's of Saginaw, a 268-bed acute care inpatient facility, has been renamed to My Michigan Medical Center Saginaw, and the other locations will follow suit, renaming as well. My Michigan Health President and CEO Linda Watson emphasizes the expansion aims towards improving community care. Mike Erickson, who became System Vice President in 2021 to assist in the professional service where he was accountable for oversight, vision, and strategic direction for professional services across the health system, has been named the new president over these 3 new locations. Erickson plans to focus on strengthening local relationships and addressing community needs. This is Christiana Malagata, News Radio 100.5 and 790.
WSGW News Time, 10:07.
Well, hello, Summer. We are glad you've...
News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist has been named the head of a national organization. Gilchrist will chair the National Lieutenant Governors Association. The new rule was approved by a vote at its annual meeting in Detroit. In a statement, and Gilchrist says he looks forward to finding common ground solutions to the challenges we face. Yet another honor for Detroit Tigers legend. Here's Michigan News Network's Jeremy Otto.
From the sandlots of Perrysburg, a jewel of a town in northwest Ohio to grow up in, to a Hall of Fame stage in Cooperstown is a long journey.
That was former Tigers manager Jim Leyland at his Hall of Fame induction last month. Now he's set to get his number 10 retired at Comerica Park. The ceremony at the Hall of Fame and the ceremony down at Comerica Park certainly going to be a little different, according to Ron Colangelo.
It'll have a different feel to it for sure, because this is Tiger-centric, Detroit Tigers baseball. This is what, is unique to the organization and to Jim Leyland for his accomplishment in his time with the Tigers as the manager, his 26 plus years as a member of the organization.
Fans are encouraged to be in their seats by 5:25 for that special pregame ceremony. Jeremy Otto, Michigan News Network.
Watch out for no swimming signs at some popular summer destinations. In the Upper Peninsula, the Marquette City Fire Department is reminding everyone you could be written up for swimming in restricted areas of Picnic Rocks. They say they've already made contact with several people attempting to swim in prohibited areas. When you see news happening, call the WSGW newsroom at 752-0790. It's 1010. I'm Mike Percha.
Morning to you. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Art Lewis Show. On the road today to the Bay City State Park, where this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, is the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. Our broadcast here at the park brought to you by Ernie Krieger Service and Growers Choice Insurance, and we thank them very much for that. Special guest with us to start this hour. He is the park interpreter here at the Bay City State Park, and we say good morning to Jonathan Masson. Good morning, Jonathan. Whoop, just a minute. There we go. Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for being with us this morning. We were talking earlier, Ernie and I were talking earlier. I don't remember. Do you know how many years this Waterfowl Festival's been going on?
This will be the 29th year that we're going on. 29th, yeah.
Wow. And why the emphasis on Waterfowl Outdoor Festival?
So our park is really special in that major part of it was the Tobico Hunt Club, and we have the Tobico Marsh here, a very big icon for the park. And through it, hundreds of thousands of waterfowl will migrate through this, both spring and fall. And waterfowl hunting is even part of the northern parts of the park. And so that kind of emphasizes some of this festival as well, kind of keeping that legacy and heritage here.
Let me ask you, and you're a park interpreter. I love photographing birds.
Mm-hmm.
When is the best time to come out here with a good long lens and photograph waterfowl?
That's a good question. So it really depends on the weather, but usually the spring we get some migration coming through from down south, but the major time is going to be about this time of year. We're already starting to see them rolling in as they're moving into the fall migration. We've seen the geese. Already, yeah, believe it or not, we've seen some groups showing up.
And where's the best place to go? I mean, are there platforms or?
So there's some spots that you can observe from the trail off into Tobico Marsh. There's two towers out in the Tobico Marsh area as well that you can kind of view out from. As well as our lagoon just outside of our doors of the visitor center here. We have lots of waterfowl that will be moving in either on that lagoon or to the open field just as you first come into the park. They're hanging out there looking for whatever bugs and critters they can find on their way, maybe even taking a nap.
And we're talking thousands of birds, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
In the overall scheme of things.
Yep.
How does it work in cooperation and conjunction with, like, the Shiawassee Flats? I mean, is these the same birds?
Sometimes they might move between the two zones, but there's so many that come right through this Great Lakes region.
This is a flyway, right?
Right. It is part of the flyway for the Midwest here, and so they're kind of migrating through both using our park, Shiawassee Flats, as much major one that's inland, along with Nyanquin. We're all kind of partnering up on housing these birds.
How far north do they go?
Some of these birds go way up into Hudson Bay area we've had, and some of those will even sit out in the bay, so they may not necessarily come in to our shore here. They'll be just offshore in the bay, but they're coming on northern Canada all the way, making their way through.
And how far south do they go?
Some of them have been seen down into the Caribbean area.
Oh,
from
really?
Florida around to Mexico, yep. So
that's a long way to fly.
They make a long journey.
That's a long way to fly. So the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival is this weekend, so let's give us an idea of what someone is going to see when they come here.
Sure, we got a lot of variety of different things for guests to engage in, from the vendor row, which a lot of people like to go visit with the different things going on, a chance to visit some of our wildlife DNR and specialty people who can answer some of the questions that you might have. Everybody always kind of asks me, do you know this answer to this? And this is a great time to come out and try and ask some of these employees that have been working hand in hand with the different environments. In addition to that, we have the state calling competition and the regional competition. This is a newer one in the last couple of years, where they're competing in a duck calling to compete in Stuttgart, Arkansas, World's competition. So they're coming here to be our Michigan representative to go there.
Oh, really?
And so,
this is an important call.
It is a very big calling clinic for that, yes. But we also have, like other ones, even kids, there's a junior calling clinic, and that's really grown in the years. Last year we had over 17 kids just doing goose calling, which we also host.
Wow.
And then if they don't know, we also have a youth calling clinic where they can go and learn, get their first duck call and learn about it.
And one of the things that always impressed me coming out here, if you don't have a call, you can certainly find one here, because your vendors, you have a lot of duck call vendors, don't you?
Yeah, we do. They're from all over the Great Lakes region area.
A lot of these are handmade too, aren't they?
They are. It's really cool to see. If you get a chance to go on and you see the artwork that they do to make these, it's really fascinating. And they tweak them just right to get just the right pitch for the right duck that they're trying to call.
I wouldn't know one from another, but duck call is a duck call.
Slowly learning myself on some of them, but hey, that's why we bring in the pros for doing some of this. That's some of our judges. They'll even talk and teach people about them.
Tell us also, speaking of ducks, there is a duck stamp contest. Tell us about that. That's statewide, isn't it?
It is statewide. So the Michigan Duck Stamp Competition is part of a greater one called the Federal Duck Stamp, which if many of the hunters back in the day or some others may remember, to go hunting you would get your duck stamp as part of your hunting thing. And it's kind of gone away a little bit that you do apply for that permit, but it's more into the artwork and to the funds that helps raise for environmental programming. And still in Michigan, we're one of the states that still has that program that goes on here. So they'll be judging the winner, our representative from Michigan, tomorrow. That'll go on to the federal competition.
So do duck hunters in Michigan have to buy a Michigan duck stamp?
So they get a permit for the duck hunting, but it's not quite the stamp itself. The stamp is more now an artwork
these are
type
collector
thing. More of a
artwork.
collector thing, right.
Yeah, we used to collect wildlife art until we had no place else to put it. And sometimes some of those were the big prints of what duck stamps were.
Definitely, and we house a complete collection of the duck stamps since it's started
really?
in Michigan. So not many people have that, and that's one cool treasure that we have here at the park in our auditorium, which if you come in to watch the judging, you'll see it surrounding you in that auditorium, all the different stamps, including the first one. They also have a remark, so you'll see where the artists themselves did a little extra artwork.
We have some artwork at home that has remarks on it where they did a little hand drawing at the bottom of it.
Makes all that special.
So Ernie mentioned to me that I should ask you about school programs, because you do school programs here. Tell us about that.
Sure. When you think of a visitor center or nature center, a lot of times it's guests, families come in and do activities, but for us, it's a lot of school groups. In fact, our kids for the schools make up majority of it, of our guests coming in. And so with the renovations that we did, we actually kind of changed the building a little bit to help adapt to accommodate those students.
More wide open.
Yep. We'll get 8,000 kids sometimes through the year. We even have some summer schools that come through. And we put out a sign up. We have some grant programs that we do where they can get some busing help to bring their schools out here. And so they'll come out in droves to do school programming. In fact, they're already signing up for next spring. Believe it or not, a lot of schools trying to get in on the program, from fishing, archery, hikes, you name it.
And how long, when they come out here, how long they expect to stay out here for the day? What's the routine?
Sure. Some groups will come out for a half day. They'll come out for just the morning and maybe eat lunch before they leave, or they'll come for the second half of the day. And then others will spend the whole day coming out and getting out of the classroom, doing some field studies and whatnot, which is really great to see, getting the kids out here.
And are you the teacher?
I sometimes am, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Actually, and that's interesting I bring that up, because even though you're the park interpreter, you've kind of compartmentalized certain things out here rather than one person does it all now.
Right, yeah. I'm trying to get various teams that have specialties that they can work in different areas. Helping out, even with this festival, we've got so many different divisions that are helping with different parts of it to help, many hands make light work on this kind of thing. And especially now that we have that newer program, the Nature Awaits 4th Grader Initiative Program, we hired in another gentleman, Bill Lenz, who operates that program along with a team of his own that does programming out here in addition to our school programming.
Hold that thought. You'll have to tell us about that when we come back.
Not a problem.
We are here at the Bay City State Park, where tomorrow and Sunday the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival takes place, sponsored by S.C. Johnson, Department of Natural Resources, and friends of the state park, along with Soaring Eagle Landing, Casino and Resort, Ducks Unlimited, and GK. All here, lots going on. Tomorrow, I should say, open team duck calling competition at 10 a.m., open meet duck calling competition at 1 p.m., novice followed by masters. The Michigan State duck calling competition at 2:30 p.m., and the Great Lakes Regional duck calling competition at 4 p.m. On Sunday, the junior duck calling competition at 10 a.m., tenderfoot followed by hunter. The junior goose calling competition at 11 a.m., again tenderfoot followed by hunter. And the Michigan State Open goose calling competition, 1 p.m., novice followed by masters. Just many of the things you will find here during the Waterfowl Festival. Free to get in. You must have, of course, a state permit on your license plate. Otherwise, there is an admission fee at the gate. But the festival itself is free. Lots of vendors here. Lots of great information. They'll have food trucks, a vendor row, visitor center will be open. An activity shelter is a stage where they'll have entertainment. Lagoon Dock will be open, and they also have a Saturday concert. All happening at the Waterfowl Festival this year here at the Bay City State Park. We'll be back with Jonathan after these notes.
Getting quality employees to fill...
And we're back with you at the Bay City State Park. And we're chatting with the park interpreter. He's Jonathan Musung. And coming up this weekend is the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. I want to go back to the kids and the various kinds of programs you have. You mentioned one just before the break. What was that?
It's Nature Awaits, the fourth grader initiative program that we started last year.
And what's involved in that?
Sure. So that program was a specialty pilot program they started last year that has students coming out for about a 90-minute program to explore a park near them. And that was part of a...
Statewide then?
Statewide. They found a variety of parks that would be close to different school groups so that they can actually go and explore out in the outdoors. And then interpreters, this is a unique one, and interpreters will travel to those parks that are local by them. They have a handful that they picked in addition to the main parks like mine, to facilitate some outdoor programming at those sites.
So what do you teach in that 90 minutes? What's a student going to learn?
They'll be learning different things like what is living in the water. They'll use nets to try and investigate. They'll be walking on the trails, learning about observations, learning how to make observations in nature, so that they're able to try and critically think about what might be going on in there. They might be investigating trees and getting to know how those trees work, which then ties very closely with science curriculum for our state.
We should also mention, you mentioned science curriculum. Here at the Visitor Center, you have a STEM program, don't you?
Yeah, we have a group of them, for different grade levels that we work with students on.
And what goes on at those?
So some of the ones that we had that was started by Valerie before me was like a invasives program.
Valerie Blaschka.
Valerie Blaschka,
she was here for decades.
Definitely. She was one of my mentors for the program here. And so they kind of developed one of them being the invasives, third grade program. We're learning about lamprey and then how different invasives work into the different areas. What does that look like? And then when I came in, I developed a program for the sixth grade program that was about big head carp, silver carp, and understanding them. A lot of them know them as Asian carp. But when we get down to the specific name, the students were learning about the specifics of the species, but then the stakeholders in the area. How does the community come together and tackle these kind of problems? How they communicate with representatives from DNR, things like that. And so they learn how to have town hall meetings.
And what happens if that Asian carp takes over your waters?
Yep.
Not a good thing.
Yep.
Good thing in one way, not a good thing in another, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this about yourself. What's your background? What got you into this?
So, wide variety. When I was a kid, little, I grew up in a neighborhood that was being developed, and so I would go around playing outdoors as part of my growing up all the time. Even volunteered at 12 years old at my local park in Indiana, helping with various projects, sharing with programs. That was one of the places I'm from. Yeah, I've moved around a little bit with my family, but a good portion of it from my growing up was Southern Indiana. But then when I moved up here, I even volunteered at like 15 with Valerie when she was here at the park, learning about bird banding and such, learning about ducks. I mean, we didn't have a lot of ducks where I lived in Southern Indiana, so that was a huge part of here, that a learning curve for me to learn.
Did you go to school for it?
So from my background, I went to Cornerstone learning about environmental biology and the different mechanisms and how that worked. And then I worked on my master's to take that a step further in the education world, how to relate that knowledge to an education school programming and learn about curriculum and teaching different groups.
So you're not just, a volunteer off the street. I mean, you spent your life doing this.
Yep, definitely. It's my passion to teach and share about nature. So
how many different classes are offered for students to take part in here at the state park?
Right now we offer about 12 different programs that students can come out and learn about, along with about 4 or 5 field labs that they can do depending on their grade level.
Tell us about those field labs. What's that like?
So some of their field labs, they learn about the fish and the water, what's going on, but then we also take them out and learn about how to fish, how to do water investigations, especially the older ones. They learn about the water quality and such. Maybe they might take a study in physics, and they come out and do archery. They learn about kinetic and potential energies when they're shooting on the archery range, while also maybe they might take a take on hunting in the area, and how we do management with hunting. Or even just ecology hikes when they're going out. They could be out for an hour or two, and we employ things like forester tools where they learn to identify trees, try and guesstimate the age of the trees, and identify that environment that these trees are typically found in to better evaluate and interpret what they're seeing around them.
So the Tobico Marsh is used a lot, isn't it?
Definitely. From students to our public, a lot of opportunity.
What makes it a marsh?
So in the marsh here, to best define it, we look at the water that's there a good chunk of the time. That's not necessarily always
there. Is
there.
it a wetland?
It is a type of wetland. It is characterized by the cattails that are found in that specific habitat. So a little bit different from a swamp that might have more trees that are growing up out of the water. Some people might see like Louisiana swamp and the sphagnum moss. But we have a lot of cattail, and it's old too. So it's got floating mats that even I could stand on and bounce like a waterbed, and there's life that lives underneath that. So, and that all filters a lot of our water in this area, which makes it a unique habitat.
But the trails are how? How are they put in there?
So the trails, because it's the property of the old Hunt Club, some of them even follow some of the old 2 tracks from back in the day when they had the Hunt Club in the early 1900s.
Dirt trails or platform wood trails?
So we have a mixture of them. On the main walk, it's kind of like a packed dirt to gravel type trail. And then out into the marsh there's a man-made dam that's out there that's all paved. It's right now in process. We're working on getting it rebuilt and repaved, so you might see some gravel right now. But there is plans in the works to try and get that rebuilt and repaved out with connecting to the rail trail that runs through our park, which is paved.
So is there any signage out there? I mean, if the average person who doesn't know anything about the marsh goes out there, is there instructional material out there that you can learn about things as you walk around?
Sure. So along our trails, we have these interpretive kiosks, they call them, or interpretive signing, that kind of talks about some of the things you might see out there, including the beaver that are actively helping maintain some of that marsh. They build a dam that helps block up some of the water. It helps create it deep enough so it doesn't get too hot for fish or animals. But at the same time, they provide platforms for different animals to nest on top of, like our swans or geese. So some of those signs you might find along the trail helping you understand. Maybe I can't be out there with everybody, but I want to share a little bit of stuff.
You're liable
with
to
people.
come across a beaver?
Oh, definitely. I've seen beaver out there at least 2 times a week or more. They're sometimes a little secretive, but you will see, if nothing else, you see the signs of them around the park, and that's the fun part about it. It's finding all these different clues, like an investigator, for these animals.
We think of beavers in this case as very productive, but there are a lot of places where they're not so helpful.
That's right. And so that's why we partner with the wildlife team, and they help to manage the species. And that's part of our environmental resources, that we need to understand the balance between what we need as people and the environment, but also what the animals need, and trying to find that balance. And it's tricky talking to a lot of experts and finding that balance.
A lot of that management is relocation.
Sometimes relocation, sometimes like deer management. We have hunting permits that we offer out to help manage those herds because they get too large.
Right.
It actually hurts the species themselves. You get disease that can spread, like CWD we've seen, or TB. So that's where they kind of get the idea for those permits, to help thin the herds, to help manage it so they're not starving themselves out because there's not enough space for all those deer.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then come back and talk more with Jonathan here at the Bay City State Park, where tomorrow and Sunday is the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. We will be back. All right, we're back with you here on WSGW, broadcasting from the Bay City State Park, courtesy of Ernie Krieger Service and our friends at Growers Choice Insurance. Telling you about the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival coming tomorrow and Sunday. We'll remind you of that again, but we're also talking about this great facility right here in the heart of the Great Lakes Bay region called the Bay City State Park. And with us is the park interpreter, and he is Jonathan Mossing. And we're talking about education and all the things that come out of here. But there's a lot of programs for adults too, right?
Definitely. One program that had started in the park out of Cadillac is the Outdoor Skills Academies, and that's pro clinics that they teach a variety of different skills. One we had done for years, we're working on, is the Walleye Clinic, where we bring pros in, like Mark Martin, Brandon Stenton, several others that teach about how to walleye fish. We also, like this fall, will be offering a fall mushroom clinic, so you can learn how to go hunting for mushrooms.
Really?
Yep.
And you'll, of course, tell us exactly where to find the morels.
Yeah. Well, they will teach you about cooking. We do have one of the staff actually as a certified chef that will talk about how they prepare and will serve during the clinic for that. Along with several others that they've done deer hunting, they've done fishing. Cadillac offers the steelhead type fishing clinics, and we're looking to add in a bass clinic along with some, even 101. We offered a clinic a little bit ago and was surprised at how many adults wanted to learn fishing for the first time. And so we're working on creating a program just like that, just helping adults for the first time learning how to fish, because they did maybe when they were 5 or 6 and
through a line maybe.
Yeah, but they're really getting into it, especially after COVID. There was this surge of people coming to the parks, and then they're like, hey, I'm really liking this.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I when I was younger I fished, and then for decades I never held a fishing pole. Last year I went out with Mike Avery, and we did some walleye fishing out on the bay. And you kind of get the bug again, and it's fun. You realize just what a fun activity it is.
Definitely.
And besides, it's good eating. But
yeah. Hey, that's part of mine.
That's all part of it, isn't it? Tell us about the state park in terms of entry. To come into the park, what's required?
So you need the park pass to get in.
Which is a little P on your
tab.
license plate tab.
Yep, you can get that when you're at the DM or Secretary of State.
Yeah, $12 or something like that, over and above your registration.
Yeah, and then when you come into the park,
that's good for a whole year, by the way, and that's good for all the parks in the state, right?
It's good for all the parks, all the boat launches as well, so you can get.
Do you need that for boat launch too?
So you used to be 2 permits for it, and now it's just that 1 permit that you have that you can get for it, and that's the life of that license plate. So whenever you renew your tabs, it'll come around back to your next plate. So it's really easy to kind of remember that way because you're already there.
And it helps the parks.
Yes, it does. That programming or that money goes to helping with the DNR and various things, from helping with programming here, going into wildlife, various other sources in that, along with the camping fees in that.
Because otherwise, to get in the park, you'd have to pay at the gate.
Right. And there is a little bit extra fee on top of that one, just to help maintain the computer systems and such that operate that program.
People have to stand at the gate collecting.
Exactly.
But the park is open to the public when? Basically, what are the hours of the park? Does it have hours?
Right now, we're pretty much open because there's a lot of different activities that go on through the day. Mostly it's from dawn to dusk, but we leave the gates open if you want to do a little bit more stargazing. I know that this year was really popular with the Northern Lights that were coming through. We had tons of people out here that were trying to do photographing and viewing those northern lights.
I never thought of that.
And in fact, coming up like the week after our festival here, we're getting into a meteor shower time period around the 9th and 12th of August, and we'll be having a star party on the 9th as well out here for guests to come out and see the stars late into the night. I mean, it's summertime in Michigan, and it takes a while for that sun to go down. So
yeah, that's true.
Stay open a little bit longer to help see, because some of them may not even been out at night and learn about bats and owls and different critters in the stars.
But again, you need that P on your license. You still have to have that
park permit.
Park permit that gets you into all the state facilities.
That's right, and it is a great investment to go and see at these parks too. And again, like I said, it goes to a lot of parks that are the state parks, not necessarily counties; those are separate, but are state parks, and there's many to visit.
If someone, maybe a family or what have you, come out to the park and they'd like to meet up with someone like yourself, an interpreter, are you available?
I am on occasion. Like I work out at the center
team.
here. Me or the team. We have a guest at the station here when you first come in that helps answer questions. We try and have some staff available to take them through the auditorium, take them through our exhibit hall to see some of the different things, or even pop in and see some of our programs that we offer with our live creatures. We do one-on-one with kids and families, seeing some of the different animals and such. So we try to make ourselves available as we can.
This park is more than just a place to recreate, isn't it? It is a place to learn.
It is definitely. There's lots that you can learn here, but enjoying the learning. I know it's a lot of times some people hear learning, darn, I'm back to my tests. Like, no. This is the experience, going out and the emotional tie to it as well. Just the senses, using that to feel and sense what's around you.
It's not just sitting down, listening to somebody talking head tell you what's going on.
That's what we try not to do. I know some people get really passionate what they're sharing, and I get it. I can be bad at that sometimes myself. But yeah, it's just coming out, and sometimes we even learn from our guests that come out. I've had kids that come out and they observe something on the animals in the bird room when they were watching the birds at the feeders, and it's like, I never noticed that before.
So what happens in the auditorium? I mean, do you have a theater presentation?
Sometimes we offer mammal programs or bird programs, talking to guests about how to identify different species.
Any videos that play or anything of that nature?
We are starting to get some of those videos in that we offer. There is one that we had crafted back in the day that even gives you seasons of tobacco and shows you what it looked like throughout the different seasons. Because sometimes people may not be able to get out in the wintertime. We have some migrators that head south, but they would like to see what are the changes and see some of the animals that come with it, and some habitats they may not be able to get to. So here's a way to kind of offer that view into what parts they may not be able to see.
All right, we're going to take a last break here and come back with Jonathan and remind everybody what's going on this weekend here as part of the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival, the 29th. How about that?
Ready to...
All right, we're back with you here at the Bay City State Park, where this weekend is the big Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. And with me is Jonathan Mussing. He is the park interpreter here and also responsible for part of the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. So lots of vendors, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Definitely vendors of all kinds of outdoor. And this is, it's not just waterfowl calling and duck calling and things like that. There's a lot of artists come out for this, aren't there?
There are. We have a few. Right as you first come in, we've got Howard Eagle, who'll be doing blacksmithing. He does some metal work, and then next to him we have another one that does some metal work. I know that there's some carver in the group. There is, like I said, the duck caller makers have these hand carved ones. There is our featured artist who did last year's duck stamp, will be in the visitor center up here in the front, so you'll get to meet him, Chris. And then just a wide variety of different artisans. I think there's even like a ceramics maker and a couple others. So it's a good mixture of both outdoor hunting and the artwork.
And the visitor center will be open.
It will, yep.
Time, right?
Yep.
I notice on here that it's bird dog bling What in the world is bird dog bling? Rhinestone collars or?
Yeah, it sounds like making some of the specialty dog jewelry and dog wear that they have. So it'll be interesting to see. Get down there. A lot of times I do the calling competition, and this year I'll be able to go visit some of our vendors a little bit more and get to meet some of these people. So it'll be interesting. We got a few new faces in the group.
And food, you come out to a festival, you're always looking for food.
Oh, yeah, wide variety of barbecue and ice cream and kettle corn and all sorts of different goodies.
All here.
All here, yep.
Yum, yum, yum. So let's talk a little bit about the competitions. You mentioned earlier that this is kind of a qualification for the statewide.
Yeah, we have a statewide state duck calling competition, Michigan Duck Stamp, the Michigan Duck Calling Competition that goes to Stuttgart, Arkansas. But we also hold the regional, so that'll include the Great Lakes region, even some from Canada that we've had come down and compete as well, to get a regional ticket to go. So you have two opportunities to go to Stuttgart at this festival. And that's paired with other competitions. So there's a certain way, like you were saying, it's like with the calls, they got different ways, different competitions based off of that. The Stuttgart's got one way, and then we have meat, which is a little bit more like what you might hear for hunting. And so that's a newer one in the last few years that we've added in, along with the goose. There's some people hunt duck, some do goose.
And so you're doing a statewide one here and the regional?
That is correct, yep.
So this is kind of a big deal.
This is, yes.
For callers, this is king of the hill for this area.
People flying in from all over. And
is that right?
Do flying in, yep. I know some people have come down from Minnesota, who've come out of Ohio, again from Canada, and a couple other places.
Is there money?
There is money for that. So, yeah, some of them are Masters Division, is competing for a $1,000 cash prize on some of those.
Okay.
So there's some good incentives to come and compete.
What happens if you get to Stuttgart?
Stuttgart, even bigger prizes there. They got tens of thousands of dollars of prizes that they give out to different people, from different merchandise to cash prizes and whatnot. And just the honor of that is huge. It's a huge event that they have down there around Thanksgiving.
Well, it's always fun coming out to the Waterfowl Festival because you walk down the vendor's alley and it's everything you hear. You hear a call over here, a call over here. They're constantly calling. I'm surprised the birds don't come in.
Occasionally we do see them coming, getting a little attractive.
It is this area, because of here, and Shiawassee, and all of those. This is a huge waterfowl hunting area, isn't it?
It is, with a deep history of that. We even used to have some decoy makers in the area back in the day. And that's kind of the new history section that we're making here at the Visitor Center. It's including some decoy examples of what we're talking about, even back to the Native American groups.
Have you got some of them?
We do. We'll have those on display as part of that exhibit of some of those wood carving. There's leatherback that were made back in the day here in Bay City. Even back to the Native Americans, they made cattail ones for duck hunting in here. So a very deep history.
So the Visitor Center and its museum, what I call the museum, although it's not, it's a learning center, call it that, has been totally revamped. But you haven't had the grand opening yet because you're not done with it yet, are you?
We got little bits here and there. We've been testing.
Like, what are you working on out here?
So we got a little bit of a history for the park. You know, we had the Hunt Club that donated a good portion of the park from the north. So we're kind of doing a little tie back to that with a little. It looks like a little cabin type thing that they might have had back in the day. Store some of their equipment, and we have some artifacts from that time period, early 1900s, 1920s, 1950s. With some of the equipment they might have used either for cross-country skiing out on the trails, using a boat that they would have used back in the day out in the marsh out there, which looks a little different from some of the canoes that you might use nowadays, but this was typical for the mud flat area out here that you would go exploring in the marsh. And some of the clothes you might have worn at that time as well.
Yes, flat-bottom boats.
A little bit of a flat-bottom canoe, yeah, that they used. So it's an interesting piece, but it is an original from the club.
And in the main display area, you still have work to do in there yet?
Yeah, we're working on upgrading some of the STEM lab in there. And that's the thing with the STEM lab. We designed it to be ever-changing. So it's not going to be just here and done. We're going to be changing various things through it. Hands-on at labs like our aquaponic tank that we have that we're setting up, which kind of mirrors the marsh with that floating cattails and such. Terrariums and different animal exhibits through there, along with supplies for kids.
I noticed in the back room is a number of fish tanks. Two of them one had small fish in it, lots of them, The other had some bigger fish in it.
Yep.
What are they?
So we have one that has representative species that you might find when they go out fishing. They can see how a bass moves around, and there's some bluegill in there, and then there's even a perch that are found in our lagoon here, and so they can see that. But then next to that are young salmon, Chinook salmon.
Is that what they are?
They are, yeah. They're what's left of the group. As they grow up, not everybody makes it, but quite a few still do. That's why they lay so many eggs. And it's part of a program that we have in the state called the SICK program, or the Salmon in Classrooms. And students get the eggs around Thanksgiving and raise these babies up through the school year.
So will they be taken out and put into the bay?
This fall, yeah. We'll put them in there, and then we'll cycle in a new group. So then students are learning the life cycle of the fish with a very visual thing there. And this is also mirrored back to the classrooms.
Interesting. I mean, and it really was interesting because I looked at them and I didn't know what they were. And they're about this, big as a goldfish, but smaller, skinnier.
Right.
Interesting. Well, you're going to find it all here at the Bay City State Park. If you have not come out here in a long time and brought the family out, this weekend would be a good time with the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival. And it runs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. I know I'll be planning to come out. Jonathan, thanks for your time this morning and for your education. We appreciate it.
Rob, thank you for having me.
And we also thank Ernie Krieger from Ernie Krieger Service for sponsoring our broadcast, along with Growers Choice Insurance. We're going to take a break and come back and tell you what's ahead on Focus. Right after these notes, let's take a look at the Waterfowl Outdoor Festival again. And it's calling competitions, outdoor hunting vendor expo, free waterfowl hunting workshops, things that you'll want to know about tomorrow. Carving and blacksmithing demos and BB gun shoot from Duncan's. They'll have their trailer here. And the Hunter Expo. From 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., soap carving in the shelter. 9 to 12, a T-shirt craft. 11 to 12, wood duck box. 12 to 1, the ducky bingo. Okay. And from 1 to 4, paint a duck. On stage at 10 a.m., open team duck. 12 p.m., calling clinic. 1 p.m., open meat duck. 2:30 p.m., the Michigan State Duck Calling. 4 p.m., Great Lakes Regional Duck Calling Competition. And at 7 p.m., country music on the stage. It's all happening. Some of the things here at the Waterfowl Festival this weekend. Come on out, bring the family. It's a great family event. And by the way, if you got a working dog, bring the dogs too, because there's a lot for the hunting dog. It's all happening at the Bay City State Park.
I'm Paul Young.
All right, that'll do it for the Art Lewis Show, and our thanks to all of you for sticking around with us. Coming up on Focus, we expect to learn about the Saginaw Field and Stream Club. That'll follow the news, which comes along next from CBS and the Local Report. We'll be back right after that.
Broadcasting from the